Good evening. We're back with more Marvel Champions, and this evening will be a card review of the Star-Lord Peter Quill Hero Pack. The first Hero Pack after the Galaxy's Most Wanted expansion. So let's take a look. Peter Quill has Recovery 3, the standard 6 hand size, 10 HP. Set up, search your deck and discard pile for a copy of the Element Gun upgrade and add it to your hand. Shuffle your deck. Okay. Action, choose a card in your hand, swap that card with the top card of your deck. Not going to be very useful unless there's cards that benefit from knowing what's on top of your deck. Or something like that. Because otherwise you'll just draw that card again next time you draw cards. So we'll have to see more of his combos to see what impact that will have, if any. Star-Lord Hero Persona, 2 threat, 2 attack, 1 defense. Each ally you control gains the Guardian trait. Impossible to determine what that will do until we see more of his cards. What could go wrong? Interrupt. When you play a card from your hand, deal yourself 1 face down encounter card. Reduce the resource cost to play that card by 3 once per round. Interesting. So high risk, high reward gameplay. That's the best cost reduction in the game. But if you deal yourself the wrong encounter card, it could go disastrously wrong. Interesting. What is the average encounter card worth, I wonder, in terms of the cost it would take to defeat it? Would a typical 3-cost card defeat a typical encounter card? Well, it depends on what it is. If it's something like add a toughness, that's not hard to defeat. If it's something like heal for 4, no problem. If it brings in a really tough enemy, like in the Ronan the Accuser set, or if it brings in like a fanaticism or a difficult side quest, that could be bad. So high risk, high reward. Not sure how this would play in multiplayer. You may end up with teammates that are frustrated with you at times. Star-Lord's ally is Nova Prime, 5 cost, 2 thwart, 3 attack. After you play Nova Prime from your hand, defeat a non-elite minion. So you could use him to help deal with the consequences of your past cost reductions using Star-Lord's ability. We'd need him to defeat an enemy for at least 2 HP to be good, or to be at least decent. To make him really good seems unlikely. So most of the time I think he's just going to be your standard above average hero-specific ally. Nothing exceptional here, but nothing terrible either. He's typical for this type of ally, I would say. Daring Escape, 0 cost. Deal yourself 1 face down encounter card, ready your hero, and draw a card. So you get like 5 in value for the cost of a card, but you have to deal yourself an encounter card. Interesting. Let's continue and see his other cards. It seems likely he's going to have other things that combo with this. Gutsy Move, 2 cost event. Remove 2 threat from a scheme. Remove 2 additional threat from that scheme for each face down encounter card. Well, if you have 2 face down encounter cards in front of you, this is a great card. And you can achieve that by simply playing a Daring Escape. So if you have a Daring Escape and there are 3 of those in the deck, and you use Star-Lord's ability and then you use Daring Escape and Gutsy Move, you're going to get 6 threat reduction. You'll get to draw a card, you'll get to ready your hero, and you'll get cost reduction of 3. But you'll have 2 additional encounter cards to deal with. I think you'll come out on top most of the time. How far on top you'll come out, we'll have to play test to discover this. Very interesting hero. The downside is big, but the upside is also very big. Sliding Shot, 3 cost. Play only if you control an element gun, which you will because you get one in its setup. Deal 5 damage to an enemy, deal 2 additional to that enemy for each face down encounter card in front of you. Well, if you had 2 encounter cards in front of you, that's a good card. If you had 3, it's phenomenal. So far we haven't seen ways to get to 3 except by having your deck expire. If you had 3, I wouldn't say it's phenomenal, it's really good if you have 3 in front of you. The 11 damage for 3 cost plus the card, that's really strong. But not easy to manage. 9 damage for 3 cost is very good. It's strong. Not exceptional, but it's strong. Bad Boy. 3 cost support. When you would take any amount of damage from the villain's attack, discard this card, prevent all of that damage, and change to alter ego form and draw 2 cards. This is strong. Yeah, I like this card. Very strong card. Doesn't require any comboing, just does what it says, gives you a lot of value. Prevents any future attacks. That's an important part of switching to your alter ego form. You can't be multiple attacked anymore. This is a good card. Too bad there's only 1 of them in the deck. Element Gun, 3 cost upgrade. Exhaust Element Gun and spend 1 resource of any type. Deal 3 damage to an enemy. This attack gains piercing. It's expensive. It's expensive, so you spend 5 for 3, 6 for 6, 7 for 9, 8 for 12, 9 for 15, 10 for 18. This really doesn't get good for a long time. It's expensive. Unfortunately, you have to play the Element Gun in order to play Sliding Shot. This is expensive if you're not making use of the piercing. If you're making use of the piercing, 5 for 4, 6 for 8, 7 for 12, 8 for 16. If you're making use of the piercing, you only need to attack, I don't know, 4 or 5 times to make this good. But if you can't make use of the piercing, it's going to take a lot of attacks to make this really strong for the overall cost. But you have to use it in order to use Sliding Shot, which is very strong. So overall, I would say the Element Gun being so effective or expensive does limit the hero a little bit. How much? We'll have to play test. Jet Boots, 2 cost upgrade. Star-Lord gains aerial. When Star-Lord would take any amount of damage, exhaust Jet Boots, prevent 1 of that damage for each encounter card in front of you. If you could get 6 damage reduction out of this, this would be great. That would mean you would have to have 3 turns with 2 encounter cards in front of you. I don't know if that will be something you'll want to do or not. This is a hero that could be pretty terrible but exciting. He could also be pretty strong. It may depend on the deck around him. Definitely someone I'm interested in experimenting with. Leader of the Guardians, a 3 cost upgrade. Each Guardian character you control gains +1 thwart, and every ally that you have is a Guardian thanks to Star-Lord's text. This is a very strong card. Very strong thwarting card. I like it a lot. Best cards in his set so far are Bad Boy and Leader of the Guardians. They're only one-ofs though. It reminds me in that way of Scarlet Witch, because Scarlet Witch's best 2 cards were both one-offs. And then she had some nice supporting pieces as well. Star-Lord may end up at about Scarlet Witch's power level, give or take, which I would have a tier below Doctor Strange, Captain America, and Ant-Man, who are currently my top 3, with Scarlet Witch coming in behind them, and I wouldn't be surprised if Star-Lord ends up there as well. And then you have another tier that would be like, so if the top 3 are S and the next 2 are like A+, then the A tier would be like Spider-Woman, Black Widow, and then like B+ would be Iron Man. And the rest are more fun thematic heroes at the moment. Star-Lord's helmet, 1 cost upgrade. While you're in hero form, you get +1 hand size for each face down encounter card in front of you to a maximum of +3 hand size. Now this may make Star-Lord even a little bit stronger than Scarlet Witch, because this is a really good card too. You really only need to draw like 2 additional cards over the course of the game for this to be good. If you draw more than that, and you probably will draw a lot more than that, then this is a phenomenal card. Star-Lord's looking pretty good. He's looking like a strong hero. I don't know if he'll get up to the S tier, but I think he's an A tier hero. Like an A, maybe even probably an A+ tier hero, along with Scarlet Witch. So let's take a look at the other cards in his pack. We've got Adam Warlock, a 3-cost leadership ally. 1 thwart, 1 attack. After he attacks or thwarts, discard 1 card at random from your hand. If that card's printed resource has Strength, remove 3, Lightning, heal 3, Science, deal 3, Wild, choose 1 of. This is not good. This is actually really weak. Unless you're discarding a card at random that you really don't care about. So you would do this attack after you've already played everything you want to play, and you're going to throw the cards in your hand away anyway. In that case, he's really strong if you can use him that way, especially if you can exercise some degree of control over which icon is getting discarded by leaving the right card. If you could have only 1 card left in your hand and it's the icon that you want, then this will be really good. And you only really need to do that on 1 of his attacks. He gets 2 attacks and then he gets to block. If you can do this twice, discard a card that you don't care about or that you were going to throw away anyway, then he's very strong. If you discard something that you wanted to keep or to play later, then he's not good at all. So, very interesting ally. I think overall I would run him. And I think there will be ways to make him strong. He may occasionally have to sit in your hand waiting for that time to come. Or not sit in your hand, but sit on the board waiting for that time to come. He may not be the ally that you want to play every round. But I think generally he's very good. Not exceptional, I don't think. Well, if you use him properly, he can be exceptional. He's got the potential to get there if he's used properly. If he's not used properly, he's not going to be very good. But if he is, yeah, he can be exceptional. His ceiling is high. Beta Ray Bill. Beta Ray Bill. 5 cost, 1 thwart, 3 attack. After he attacks and defeats a minion, remove 2 threat from the main scheme. This ally is phenomenal, one of the best in the game if you can afford his cost, and Star-Lord will be able to thanks to his hero ability. Beta Ray Bill I think is an auto-include in the leadership Star-Lord deck. I would put him in most of my leadership decks, if not all. He'll be difficult to get out though. You'll need resource management to do it. But he's really strong once you get him out, and you can use rapid response with him. He's phenomenal with rapid response. One of the best value rapid responses in the game. He may be the best value rapid response in the game. I like this ally a lot. So far these aspect cards for Star-Lord are looking very good. Yondu. 4 cost, 2 threat, 1 attack. The attack does not have consequential damage, so you can repeat it over and over. Yondu's attacks gain ranged. Ranged ignores retaliate. Well, how many times would you have to attack to make him good? Assuming you chump block with him at some point, I actually think you need to make about 10 attacks for him to be good. So he really actually needs an upgrade, I think. Say you played a +1 attack for 1 cost on him. He'd be at like 7 for 5. You need about 5 attacks for him to be good. So Yondu, he's slow. He's got high upside, but it's slow to get there. I think you need an upgrade on him, and then you need like 5 turns with an upgrade on him in order for him to be good. That's not easy to do. Yeah, that's not easy. I don't think he's very strong because I think he's too slow for solo, at least. If you got him very early with an upgrade, then he could be very good for you, but I think he, generally speaking, will be too slow to provide enough value for his cost. Air Supremacy. 2-cost event. Choose up to X enemies, where X is equal to the number of aerial characters you control. Deal 3 damage to each chosen enemy. Well, if you have 2 aerial characters, this card is fine. If you have 3, it's great. You can reliably get 3 aerial characters on the table. This is an exceptional card. I guess this is a card that will get better the more cards are added to the game because more aerial allies will be added. Let's check how many there are at the moment. Well, right now there's just Adam Warlock and Falcon, and then you have the upgrade Sky Cycle that can give an ally aerial. I think this card is too hard to set up at the moment, but I think in the future, as more aerial allies are added to the game, this will become very good. So this is a card that will scale up as the game evolves and adds more cards. Blaze of Glory. 2-cost event. Each Guardian character gets +2 thwart and +2 attack this phase. At the end of the phase, deal 1 damage to each Guardian character. So this would be another card to use with your allies when they are on their last HP. You would have to use this with 3 characters. I guess it makes the most sense in Star-Lord. So if you have a board set up where you've got 2 allies that are basically just waiting to chump block, and instead you want to use them to get +2 attack each. In addition to Star-Lord, I think that would be good. If you had 3 allies that were all ready to go, it would be good. But however, that situation is going to be kind of hard to set up. And a lot of the time, the overwhelming amount of the time, Blaze of Glory will get thrown away as a resource, and you'll kind of wish it had been another card that was more universally useful. So it's a combo card. It has interesting possibilities, but I think it's probably too clunky to run in anything other than like a fun deck. Get Ready, we've seen before. Target Practice. When an ally with a weapon upgrade makes an attack, discard Target Practice. That ally gets +2. We don't really like upgrades in solo play because most of the time allies are used for chump blocking. They don't stay on the board long enough to get heals or make attacks past their expiration date. So Target Practice, no. Power of Leadership, we've seen before. Laser Blaster attached to a Guardian ally. 1 per ally. Attached ally gets +1 and its attacks gain overkill. Same problem with the Target Practice. Noda upgrades in solo. Probably Noda upgrades in the multiplayer as well, but so this card would be like for a fun deck that would run ally attachments, or for a future date in which that deck gets life from cards that haven't been released yet, or cards that I haven't seen yet but have been released. Cosmo, the Space Dog. 2-cost ally, 1 thwart, 1 attack, 2 health. When Cosmo attacks or thwarts, name a card type. Then discard the top card of a deck. If that card is of the named type, Cosmo does not take consequential damage. Well, in order to make him good, you need to be able to do that like 4 times. And you probably won't be able to guess at it 4 times in a row, which means you need a way to know what the top card of a deck is, and that will require something like Star-Lord's Alter Ego ability. But we won't be able to use that 4 times in solo. We'll need other ways to tell. If you could use Cosmo's ability like 3 times, he'd be good. 2 times would be good. 1 time would be, he's okay. And if you miss the first time, then he's bad. You have no margin for error. It's 1 and done. Or 1 and then he takes a chump block. So, a gambly card unless you have a way to know what the top card of a deck is, in which case he's, if you did have that, like an upgrade or a support or a hero power that allowed you to know what the top card of a deck was, then he'd be very good. And you need a way to reliably get that combo out as well. It'd probably have to come installed on a hero or something like that. Because otherwise I think you would guess and miss too often and then he wouldn't be very good. Or he'd just be kind of meh. CITT, 2-cost support, exhaust CITT and spend 2 resources of any type to ready a guardian character. That's a ridiculous cost for readying a character. I would not run this card. I think it's too expensive. It would need to be like a 1-cost card and cost 1 to ready a character before I'd even consider it, and even then maybe not. But at 2 and 2 this is too expensive. Nowhere, 2-cost support, play only if your identity has the guardian trait, increase your ally limit by 1. After a player plays a guardian ally, exhaust Nowhere, that player draws 1 card. If you could draw 2 cards that way, this card is decent. If you could draw 3, it's great. And given that you increase your ally limit by 1, I think this is definitely an include if you're playing a guardian character, and especially if you're playing Star-Lord. With Star-Lord, this is a phenomenal card because all of the allies that you play are going to have the guardian trait thanks to Star-Lord. And so you're going to draw a card every time you play an ally, and with leadership you want to do that all the time. So Nowhere is an auto include and a very, very good card with Star-Lord. Probably an include. I wouldn't say it's an auto include if you just have the guardian trait. I was thinking of Star-Lord when I said that. But otherwise there's only like 2 guardian allies right now, Rocket and Groot. And so that's not enough to play Nowhere if you're not playing Star-Lord. But if you're playing Star-Lord, this is an auto include. Pulse Grenade, 2-cost upgrade, discard Pulse Grenade and choose an enemy. Discard the top 2 cards of the encounter deck, deal 1 damage to the chosen enemy for each boost icon discarded. For a one-time use item, this is too expensive for what it gives. Even if you got like 4 damage off of it, that's only 2 cost for 4 damage. You'd need to get like 6 just to make this decent, and that's not going to happen enough of the time. So yeah, this card is too expensive for what it does. Next up we have Dive Bomb. 4-cost event, play only if your identity has the aerial trait, deal 7 damage to an enemy, deal 1 damage to each other enemy. So it's ground stomp, but worse by 1 damage, costs more. And you can only do it if you're aerial. I think you would need to damage like 4 enemies total for this to be good. For it to be decent, 5 for it to be good. There's certain situations where that might happen, like against Ultron, but generally I think it'll just be like 4 cost for 7 damage, which is 1 more than we'd like it to cost. So I probably wouldn't run this card in too many decks. Agile Flight, 3-cost event. Play only if your identity has the aerial trait. Remove a total of 5 threat from among schemes. 3-cost plus the card for 5 threat removal is a little bit too inefficient. That's a lot too inefficient to run this. I would like it to remove 8 threat in order to consider this a good card, so probably wouldn't run this one either. Ever Vigilant, a 2-cost event. Ready your hero and remove 2 threat. Remove 2 threat from the main scheme. I don't think that's enough value to justify the cost. Readying your hero, I value at about 2. Like 2 threat, 2 attack, because that's typically what you get out of readying your hero. So 2 cost plus the card for 2 threat removal plus a thwart for 2 is not enough to want to run this. And enhanced awareness we've seen. Is that it? That is everything. Well, overall, we've got some decent pieces here. Adam Warlock Ally, Beta Ray Bill I think are good. Star-Lord's Helmet, the best card in his set. So we'll try him out. I'm looking forward to him. I think he's likely to be highly unpredictable, but fairly strong. Probably in the range of like Iron Man or something like that. Certainly not useless. So we'll see how he does in his playtest. I can't recommend him until after I see. This definitely isn't a slam dunk because of how the unpredictability of how the dealing yourself extra encounter cards is going to play out. So, thank you for watching.